Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Nick Aguirre up against Payton Talbott very soon. Payton Talbott undefeated. You're 7-1. Big fight, main card, I believe. How do you feel about this one? Your opponent undefeated, always intriguing when someone has an O next to their name, but I'm sure it's nothing new to you.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to get back in there. I've been waiting. I mean, it'll be 10 months by the time I fight. So I've been ready to go for a while. So ready to go. I'm excited for it.
What are your thoughts when you see Payton Talbott's name on the contract?
He's good like everybody's good. He's a rangy guy. He likes to strike a lot. Big output. He's pretty diverse with his striking. So, obviously standing is where he wants the fight to be, and that's where he poses most of his problems. But yeah, he's good, just like they're all good at this level.
Why have you had to wait so long to get a fight?
I have no idea. I mean, I've been wanting to fight since May, so it just didn't work out for whatever reason. This is the first fight I really got offered. I mean, I did get married, so during that little time frame, you know, it was like July and August, so I was like, I can't fight. But other than that, I've been trying to fight. It just, for whatever reason, hasn't worked out.
Have you been able to level up in that time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I train with a lot of good people at VFS Academy, and yeah, I mean, I'm getting better all the time. I train nonstop. I'm never not in the gym, so I'm always getting better, and I have people who push me every day, so improvements are gonna happen.
What was the biggest learning experience from your last fight? Do you think, did you notice the UFC being, different class?
No, not at all. I mean, I train with really good guys. I train with UFC fighters every day. So I'm used to that feeling. Nothing was shocking in there. The biggest thing I learned was just like control what you could control, and you try to control the pace of the fight. You control where you want the fight to be, and I didn't do a good job at that. And I would say that's the biggest lesson I learned was staying focused on myself and controlling what I can control. Really.
First loss of your career, like, mentally, how do you deal with that? How do you get past that? Any pressure, like being at the UFC, making sure you stick around and show what you can do?
I mean, it sucked, obviously, and then yeah, you worry about things like that. Like you don't want to be on a losing streak, obviously, in the UFC. You don't get too many chances. But, I'm just trying to learn from it, learn as much as I can. I have a lot of good people around me. I have a lot of people around me who have been through this, been through a lot more than I have. Belal Muhammad told me, he he also got into the UFC off a short notice fight, and he lost his first fight in the UFC. So, he had a lot of encouraging things to tell me, and I try to learn from everybody who's around me.
Uh, Belal, he's ready to fight for the title, right? Like, how important has he been to have around?
It's good to have somebody like him around. He's definitely the leader of our team. He runs a lot of practices. He just has so much knowledge. And anytime Bilal says anything, I listen to everything he says. I take all of his advice very seriously. And, he is the type of guy who he is willing to help anybody. He's a really nice guy, and he will help you with anything you have. So yeah, I use his advice as much as I can.
Who gave you the name Slick?
I don't know. Like my dad calls me Slick all the time, so it's sort of that's the main thing. I mean, it was like a Snapchat name I made like when it first started when I was like a freshman in high school. My dad found out about it, so he would call me Slick all the time, and just sort of stuck.
A lot of your wins have come by chokes. Can you tell me a bit about your biggest strengths as a fighter?
I mean, I started doing MMA when I was 11 years old, so been around this for a long time. Um, I just take what is there. It just so happens it's been a lot of chokes. I just take whatever is available. I'm taking it.
Were you a fan of MMA growing up? Like, was there anybody who you thought was the gold standard in this game?
Yeah, I was a huge MMA fan my entire life. I mean, I've been saying I was gonna be a UFC fighter since I was 7 years old. So I've always been a huge fan. Me and my dad are really close, and my dad was a big UFC fan from the start. Like I think my dad went to UFC 7, 8, 9, something like that. One of the first 10. It was like in Detroit. So my dad went to that. So he's always been a big fan. So I used to watch Pride. I used to watch UFC. I was always a huge fan. And then like growing up, George St. Pierre was my favorite fighter. I was a huge George St. Pierre fan. You would have thought me and him were friends the way I acted when he fought. Because I would go crazy.
What's it mean to your dad to have a son who fights in the UFC, and what's it going to mean to him when he sees you first getting your hand raised in the octagon, maybe very, very soon?
Um, I think I know my dad's real proud of me. It's martial arts is a big part of my family. My dad did fight. My dad fought 2 times. Later in life, sort of midlife crisis. He's 40 years old, but he fought twice. My older brothers fought probably 30 times, and then my younger brother is 5-0 as an amateur. And then my youngest brother also did jiu-jitsu, but he doesn't fight. But martial arts is a big part of my life, big part of my family's life. So I know everybody will be really proud of me when I get the job done. So, but yeah, I have a super supportive family. Everybody understands, this lifestyle.
Awesome. And what did you think of Fury versus Ngannou? Did you catch it? Is that a game changer in terms of how people perceive MMA fighters in boxing?
No, I mean, I didn't get to see any of it. I saw like pieces of it, like what I could see on Twitter. Um, from what I heard, it sounded like he won. So I don't think anybody saw that coming. Tyson Fury's, I think everybody thought Tyson Fury was gonna run through him. But good for Francis. Definitely, he's definitely been the best representation of a MMA fighter going over to boxing. That's for sure.
This game is not just about what happens inside the octagon. It's about a lot more than that. What's your understanding of that concept, like about selling fights, promoting yourself? Do you think you've got that side of the game down?
Yeah, I think I could talk. I think I'm gonna be able to talk a lot more after I win. It's hard to talk shit, hard to like say what you want when you're 0-1 in the UFC. You're 0-1 in the UFC, you can't ask for anything, you can't ask for any specific people. You need to win before you could start doing things like that. So I plan on winning, and then once I win, I have more room to be able to say whatever the hell I want to say.
Do you think the champ, in a way, is an inspiration on that note? The guy came to the UFC with a lot of fire, and then he was able to climb. I think he was 14 in the division, went to number one on the back of a victory, and then now has the belt around his waist. Sean O'Malley.
I mean, he shows. I mean, he was big hype from the start, so he got to do. They really like once you're liked by them, they kind of like lead your career a certain way. Obviously, you would like that's like the perfect scenario. You sort of get matchups that are in your favor. There's certain people that they sort of seem to not want to give you. So if you could talk and you can be marketable, it definitely helps. It helps your career a ton because if you are just winning and nobody knows who you are, you're going to get killer after killer. And is killers in this sport, especially in the UFC. But matchups are important, and they're very particular about the people they give certain guys. So that is definitely beneficial.
What's your biggest goal in this sport?
I mean, if you're not in this to be champ one day, I don't think you should be in this because this sport's brutal. It takes a lot, and you're gonna end up getting embarrassed eventually if you're in this for the wrong reasons. So if you're not trying to be the best, you probably shouldn't be in this.
We got guys like Kevin Holland who says, he's not looking for the title. He enjoys doing this and enjoys the paycheck. I've heard different motivations for doing it, and it seems to work for some people, depending.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know those people's mindsets. I don't personally know anybody who's like that. Everybody I know is trying to be the best at this. But if it works for them, it works for them. But I couldn't live that way. I couldn't live just being like, I'm just gonna go have wars and make some money. Like I'm trying to win. I don't care about all that shit.
We still got some kind of we still got people like Dominick Cruz in this division, you know, a legend of a different era. Are you trying to get up there so you can fight people like that, you know, before we say goodbye to a Dominick Cruz? You know, there's not that many guys of that era still around. It's kind of like a new generation of young killers. Do you feel that way?
Um, no, not really. I don't really care about who I fight too much in the future. You know, I'm focused on Payton Talbot, and that's it. I'm not thinking of anything past that. But whoever comes after, that's what happens. You know, I don't have any like specific like dream fights. Like to me, this sport's hard. All these guys are tough. I just need a win, you know. Whoever it is, I don't care who it is.
Which guy is the most interesting in the division right now? Who has your respect, like, in terms of doing everything right in this division?
I think the best guy in the division, is like I would say the toughest fight is probably Umar. Umar and Marab are probably the two guys who you're like, those guys are gonna be hard to beat. Like they can do everything. Umar's striking is a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. And then obviously his wrestling is amazing, his ground control is amazing, his jiu-jitsu is amazing. I would say that's like gold standard of like in terms of skill. He has everything you would need to be the best. So yeah, there's really no holes in him. So guys like that, you try to strive to be like dudes like that for sure.
It's a very, very interesting division. We're going to wrap up with a little quick fire. So, who's got the best wrestling in the UFC?
Best wrestling in the UFC. Straight wrestling, Bo Nichols is the best wrestler in UFC.
Who's the funniest?
Funniest Derek Lewis.
Who's the best looking fighter in the UFC?
Best looking?
Yeah, guy or girl?
Oh gosh. You know, I'm married. I don't know if I should answer that. I
All
don't
right.
know.
All right, no worries. Who's the most annoying?
Was it Kobe Covington by far? Not even question who's the most annoying.
Who'd you most like to have dinner with?
Most like to have dinner with probably Aljamain Sterling. I feel like I fight similar to him, so I would love to pick his brain one day.
Who's got the best fight IQ?
Best fight IQ. Probably say my teammate Belal Muhammad. You know, you watch his fights all look different. Some fights he wrestles heavy. Against Gilbert, he struck with him for 25 minutes. All of his fights look extremely different. Sometimes he pressures heavy, sometimes he circles a lot. Yeah, that guy knows how to win a fight.
Who's got the coolest tattoos?
Coolest tattoos. There's some really bad ones. You know, there's a lot of bad ones. I mean, Sean Brady has an interesting thing on his back, but coolest, I don't even know. There's so many bad ones that it's hard to even think of the good ones. I don't even know. I could tell you a lot of bad ones, but the good ones not really.
Who has the best hands?
Best hands, probably Max Holloway. Max Holloway has nasty striking.
Who would make the best movie star?
Best movie star. Shoot. Do we have any movies? I mean, maybe Connor. Connor could probably do some movies, I'm sure. He's got the energy.
Yeah, he's got that energy for sure. Who's the most interesting female fighter right now?
Most interesting female fighter. Um, I don't know. My favorite female fighter is probably Whaley. You know, I don't know much about her though, so I don't know how interesting she is, but she's a good fighter.
Absolutely, you know, she's interesting to watch. And who would you most want by your side in a street fight?
She's gotta be somebody big. You know, if Francis still counts, Francis, but not him, John Jones. John Jones is wild too, so John Jones is down to fight, so probably John Jones.
Who's the best dressed fighter? Who's got the best style?
Best dress. I don't even know. You know, Aljamain got some nice suits. You know, maybe him. Seems swagged out a lot.
You kind of mentioned this already, but I always wrap up with who is your dream fight in past or present in any weight class? So a slightly different twist on the question. Because you said you don't have dream fights, but any weight class, past or present.
I'd like to see what George St. Pierre felt like at his best. He was so good. I just want to feel like how difficult he is to deal with because he can do it all.
Respect, Nick. Good to see you, man. Best of luck. Hope to catch up with you again in the future. Nice one.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.